In the case of Azure Document Intelligence, is it's a kind of a reading Azure AI services. We have Azure services. It is a one of the Azure AI service, uh, where it automatically reads the understand and classify, reads the extract the information from the image or PDF, most of the OCR process, which will do by this. And it's a basically an Azure AI service that automatically reads the data, reads the data from the OCR process, and reads the data means, like we have a multiple forms, uh, like uh, uh, service security card, and in the case of a PAN card, or form 16 and UB forms, like healthcare insurance we have a multiple forms. Like then those, if you want to read and extract the data and save into the associated sources, like destination sources means here we have multiple sources. One is the Cosmos DB, and storage account Azure SQL, Oracle, whichever the data stores we can store the data, and we can analyze the data based on this. Here made our intention in the case of document intelligence, we have a data, we have a information in the PDF on scanned files and scanned image. Then basically we need to extract the data by using the document intelligence, and store into the that we will get in a semi-structured, and that we will store associated data source. That is our main intention here by using the document intelligence. uh, so we can say like intelligence is an AI powered document processing service that converts a document into the structured data. That is the main our intention and goal related to this. And as I mentioned, the flow kind of, if you in the case of architecture way, like you have inbound layer, and where the information uh, will place, and we have an outbound layer, like for example, in the case of inbound, we have inbound layer, and the inbound layer mainly contain whichever the data you will receive. Then there may be a multiple interfaces. In the case of Azure, you would prefer, in the case of Azure, REST Azure API, Azure Sync process, and SFTP if you want to expose that by using the subnet, and expose your organization to the private network you can build in such a way. And Azure Function REST API. And so you have multiple ways to push our source details into the destination, I mean in the into the case of uh, Azure storage account. You can say data lake gen 2. Now you have a messaging layer. That messaging layer is a event driven messaging layer. It's a kind of like, once you have received the data, some we need a like a messaging layer, yeah, it hosted into the whichever the data is zip files, like in the case of uniform billing, UB forms. Then if you want to it is a package of zip files with the UV form, it has associated scan documents, and whichever that claim process, whichever the documents is required. In the case of insurance claim process, you need a UB form, and associated scan documents, like user identification details and other details, and along with that of proof of submission details. So there are multiple things in the particular input files. Once it is uploaded by input layer, it has to indicate to the associated process layer, like a Azure. It's a process means, like once it is storage into storage account, for example, storage account. Then you have a files in that, so you need to trigger, you need a trigger mechanism where you need to initiate it by OCR process layer, a OCR process layer. Here here it would be the Azure function, the Azure durable function, like which we get from the document intelligence. That functionality needs to be implemented into the this Azure process layer. Then once we process that, and we will extract those details and the storage into the Cosmos DB, or here it is a process layer, and it is a storage repository layer. In the case of repository layer, you will have in such a way like mm, whichever the data that is extracting, that will store into the repository. That would be the Cosmos DB or SQL or storage account, or whichever the storage, or if you want to send that into the associated metadata into the another layer, that may be a service bus, Q layer, service bus. If you wanted to send like that, that process you can initiate. So mostly we will use a repository layer. From here we will get an outbound layer. Outbound layer basically where you will show the details, like for the user, in the case of user interface, in the case of dashboard, it may be an Angular application or mobile application, or whichever the next layer which you need to pass. So these are all involved into these multiple layers in the case of architecture flow. So the document intelligence is here is the key point that I would like to explain in the case of entire process. So once we store the data and extract the data from the document intelligence process, by document intelligence process, so basically you will you will get the extracted details. From there you will start executing the your business process. And also we can classify automatically by using implementing the LLMs, and it may be a custom LLM, or your I mean open LLM, or other LLMs, whichever the LLM in the AI layer. If that, if you want to trigger, and if you want to analyze, and if you want to classify, and if you want to execute automatically, I mean to say, if you want to implement in the case of agent architecture process, you can implement that. mm, Auto agent layer. So here automatically the business rules will apply. The agents automatically impose the business artificial intelligence into the our business. In the case of claim process, like automatically checks the scan document and x-rays, and based on that it will take the decision. It won't takes the approval, maximum approval it won't takes that, and move into the associated classification, whether it may be revisit, reject, and approval process, pre-approval process. So whichever way we can design such a way in the case of agent layer. So so here main thing is the base of the key point here is the document intelligence. If we, once we get then extracted results, because everything is a proper structure, and semi structure also there in the case of documents, then we can handle by using the document intelligence. It's a quick and easier. So so and not only OCR, like many tools, and you can say the fewer back years. So we have only it will take the OCR only, and it will be having the specific OCR structure. But he OCR DLLs, then we can packages, we can extract. But here not only the extracting the details, we can analyze and we can apply the classification. And because of ecosystem is a Microsoft is providing the wonderful ecosystem, so that we can achieve a lot of things and improve the business and gearing up and reduce the cost, and making up the speed as earliest as possible we can deliver. So in the case of claims process, per day it would be the 1 million records easily need to handle. In that case, if you consider 30% of some manual work, it will reduce. Then it is a lot of huge impact. In the case of in the case of gear up the time process, uh, because of manual intervention, as we are reducing, so that it will very useful in the case of implementing or imposing AI document intelligence into the our business. Anyway, the document intelligence, we have in a resource group, and we need to create resource group, then we'll create a document intelligence. And document intelligence will create that, and we have a document intelligence. Then we have a document intelligence studio, and where the document intelligence studio, where we will in the studio we will configure and implement and analyze and proper testing. Once we apply the proper testing mechanism and understand the business, we'll check whether the implementation is properly executing our business fruits. It is relevant to that, and we'll check here, and based on that we will proceeding. It will helpful for the build a documental intelligence layer. And that is the most important to gear up any business process, because most of the documents are most of the business involves in the document process. So it reduces and improves the optimization business business, and reduce the cost and reduce the time, and within a very low time it will give a best business execution process. And so that and also not only that, it is the best customer satisfaction for the end user, and it reduce the pain of the claim process. Example, let's say, so it is a less time, even in from the user side. User means in the insurance provider, and whoever using the claim, I mean whoever raised the request, patient level, he can easily within less of time compared to previous. He will he'll know how much of the cost it will impact, and he will claim completely, gets the amount, all those things he can easily understand where it is impacting. And before that, before claim process also, he can understand if anything, if he uploads the documents, and he will recheck if anything is claim is burden on him, and then he can check that, and he can take a steps ahead, so that it is a very less chances to reject the claims. And also processing time increase, because if he or she itself before knew about this process, then it is very useful for in the case of user, and improves the process. And it cost benefit in the case of process, when it is reduce the cost request and duplicate request. Then we will able to control, when we will able to control all these things, then obviously it will leads to the reducing cost stress, and reducing the time, and will give a better product in the case of whichever the document business involves, whichever the business is using the documents processing. It is a best choice, will provide best architecture. I will provide a best architecture for them. And yeah, you can reach out to me on this.